Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with you. My name is Ines. I'm a front-end software engineer, very passionate and working specialized now in web performance topic. I'm actually joining you today as a co-chair of Sustainable Web Interest Group to introduce you a bit to web sustainability guidelines and especially as well how they fit into this whole European, what's happening in Europe at the moment. So why? Why even this topic? Why are we discussing this? Why are we creating this type of document? And this is information that after many presentations I did about this topic in the last 3 years, I still like to open my talks with. It's still very interesting information, and that is that information and communication technology represent 2 to 5% of global annual emission. And if you've seen the last slide from the previous presentation, it's rising and it's rising a lot. So many emerging technologies are actually responsible for quite some of the rises in annual emission from ICT. You can see this 2 to 5, which is quite a span on this small numbers, and it comes from few different points. It comes from a point that one of the hardest thing in sustainability is measurement. It's how do we measure? How do we put this number? And I'm going to talk about that as well in a few minutes. And the second part is also ICT. What do we include? What we don't include? And all of that section. So this is why we have a bit of a span here. So quite some years ago, enthusiasts about these topics that realized that, of course, digital is not only green, and the fact that world is kind of taking digitalization as a part of decarbonization strategy is slightly backfiring. So they created a group inside of W3C community group at the time, where they just share some ideas, exchange, some materials, and luckily that group grew. So this year was the year that we went from community group to an interest group. And also this is again a huge milestone for us this year. However, in 2023, there was a huge milestone for us, which was what makes a website sustainable. We did a work on that to define what does really mean. No, there was so much exchange about this topic. However, we knew that we had to produce something that would give us the answer to this question, that would then help, of course, the legislations, that would help implementers, and of course, everyone around that engage with the specific topics. So in 2023, as I said, we created the first web sustainability guidelines. So these guidelines are currently in huge work in progress. They are, as you can see here, they are non-prescriptive, but evidence informed. There is 93 of them, guidelines itself, with over 300 success criteria, and they're spread across 4 different domains. So we have design, web development, infrastructure, as well as business strategy and product management. And 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned, a huge milestone happened, which is we published the first working draft for our note that we are planning to publish later next year in hopefully in April. So what does that mean further? Now, why is this document? How are we creating it? What are we doing? So how do we as well align with the European? So what we are creating, what we see this is also very much inspired by WCAG, by accessibility is a potential foundation for future EU-wide sustainability guidelines. So we want to bridge the policy, research, implementation across the whole digital ecosystem. And we actually see this as a complementary to some frameworks happening in the Europe. There is the Green Deal, which is overarching. I'm still wrapping my head around all of this, how this works, where does this go, all of these parts. However, with some of these, currently the one that it's most relevant for us is REGSN. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the full name of this because it's French. And this one is actually the national framework for eco-design of digital services. So France is basically few steps in front everything we are doing, and they already have a national level law about the digital services and how to make them sustainable. So this is something that we are collaborating with. So some of the individuals working on the guidelines are also some of the same individual work on REGSN. Together with that, we have some references inside of the guideline to this specific one. And it's kind of shaping as well where we go. It's kind of showing us where we want to be in the future, of course, cross countries, especially into Europe, because Europe is where a lot of this is happening. You know, Belgium has something similar as well, working on, as well as the Nordics. UK is always as well right behind with most of this. A lot of work is happening there. So this is basically one of the crucial pieces of the puzzle, is what do we want to achieve with this document itself. No, so basically prepare it to be a foundation for such a guidance. And we cannot do this by ourselves. This is a very, very important part. So, sustainable design in its core is defined as designing products that puts people and planet first. So, when you think about it, it's so much more than just carbon emissions. Of course, we have energy that it's unfortunately still generated by burning fossil fuels. However, we have such a huge impact that digital services have on people. Now, we saw this, how much it has with accessibility. Accessibility is a natural part of designing for people, but there is so much more, you know, from attention spans, from dark patterns, for so many things, privacy, security, that go inside of this topic itself. And this is why we're currently undergoing horizontal review from different groups, as well as aligning with other W3C groups. I'm happy to see how these talks and how these alignments with other W3C groups and areas as well progress what we are working for. So the second big thing that we're, of course, working on is actually preparing. So all of this is going towards preparation for April 2026, where we are planning to publish a note. No, so what we have now is a draft. We're working towards actually that being a published note. And for that to happen, one huge piece that we still have is measurement. Now, this is the thing that has been quite slowing down, I would say, the well, adoption, as well as some of the standardization, is the fact that it's very hard to put an impact on all of this. The sustainability itself, it has so many indirect implications on many different people, on many different areas. So our metric task force has a very challenging task currently of providing this kind of evidence-based impact model. So this is also why we are looking for any help we can get. So we want to partner with the browsers as well as other W3C groups to help us make, you know, sustainability measurable and actionable. No, this is basically where it kind of stucks a bit, because we can maybe create, you know, inside of the lighthouse, they can be a panel, but what do we actually display there? How do we put a number on this impact that all of these guidelines, when adapted, when created, when adapted, when actually applied well onto the digital products, in this case, websites and web applications are. So as you can see here, again, the metric task force are developing a framework to connect sustainability principles with measurability web data. And this is, again, something that we are aligning with other W3C groups to see how to do that. So this is an open invitation for everyone to come talk to us, give us your insights, give us your ideas, and, well, help us as much as we can to progress this. This is some of the faces that are associated with the group. I can share the link to the group as well as the draft of the note in the chat after the talk, so you can reach to any of us co-chairs, Alex, who is our editor, or Tzvia, who is W3C lead for sustainability, and we're happy to talk about this further. So yeah, I will just close with this. Let's build a more sustainable web together.